Hey guys, welcome back out in the garage. Today I want to talk a little bit about hydraulic lifters, not the issue with things that are happening or whatever in the world with lifters. Basically roller lifters and link bar or even the dog bone style or flat tappet hydraulic lifters. I just want to talk about pumping them, okay, pumping them up. Because there's still a couple questions or some answers I'm kind of looking for, to be honest with you, is a better way of saying it. But what I want to talk about is pumping them up, okay, before the assembly, let's say. So, way back in the mid 90s, about 95, made this tool here, okay? It's made to pump up lifters, all right? It's got like a, I don't want to tilt it too far because it still has a little bit of oil residue, but you can see there's a sleeve right there inside of this big cavity. That sleeve actually has holes in the side of it, okay? That's so that when you fill this with oil, oil will get inside that sleeve as well. And the reason why that sleeve is there, of course, I'm sure you already figured that out, is to drop the lifter in. So now you got your lifter right there. Okay. Then basically this is filled with oil and you can pump, okay? We can sit there and pump that lifter up. Now, even in the early days, we would use a can or something like this or whatever full of oil, and we would soak our lifters in it. I see no problem with that. I mean, Grandpa did it, Dad's done it, uncles have done it, brothers and sisters, moms and whatever. We've always, a lot of us was raised to do it like this, and that's still, in my book, fine. If that's the way you want to do it, I see no problem with it, okay? Pumping, I see no problem with it. But every time I show this or talk about pumping lifters, like on a forum or a group or whatever, they say never pump a lifter. Even the literature that comes with new lifters say don't pump. Okay, I've read the literature and it says no need to pump them up or don't pump them up, but they don't really say why. They just say don't pump them up. Okay, now since I made this tool and even before, we've been pumping up lifters or doing this trick here, okay? Some guys will just use a push rod. I've heard of guys putting them in their drill press and putting a little can there and then pumping them up, with a push rod, which is a very cool idea. I just like this because it's real convenient. It's small. I could take it on the road with me, let's say, or if my buddy wants to pump the lifters in his build or whatever, I could go over there with this. Probably make a nice little carrying bag for it. I don't have one, but it'd be kind of cool to have like a little bag for it. But anyway, going back to this, I pump all my lifters, and the reason why is to make sure it's not, okay, let me just first start off with, it's not 99, it's not 100% foolproof, okay? But at least when you pump the lifter up, okay, and then you start pumping this, and you'll feel it start to get, harder to push and stuff, and then it'll get to where it is totally pumped up. Okay, that lifter. We know this lifter pumped up, okay, so it's a good lifter. So I'm gonna put it right here, okay, then I'll put the next lifter in. We pump it up, and you kind of see where I'm going with this. Put it here. But let's say I get this one and it never pumps up, and I'm just like going to town, and it just never pumps up. Well, that one most likely I'm gonna set there. Now when I get all of them done, no matter how many you're doing, depending on if it's a V8, V6, or whatever you're working with, let's say I end up with 2. I got 2 that I need to return or find out what the deal is, okay? Talk to the people I got it from or whatever. So those 2. Now a lot of guys tell me, prime your engine. just you prime your engine before you do anything anyway, that's gonna pump them up. Yeah, that's gonna pump them up, but I don't know if they all pumped up. So let's say your engine's completely together, sealed, carburetor to pan, and you primed it, and you're a happy camper. Now when you go to start it up on the dyno or on the test stand or in the vehicle, and you have a rattle or a ticking noise, let's just say, hey, we got a problem here. Pull the valve covers off and you find out a couple of them didn't pump up. Now you're taking rocker arms off, push rods out, intake manifold off, and trying to figure out which one it is, unless you can figure it out, of course, by the rocker arm itself. But you can see where I'm going with this. So pumping them up first at least gives you a little bit of ease of mind because you knew they all pumped up. Again, it's not 100% foolproof, but at least hey, I got 16 lifters, all 16 pumped up. Same with, like say the roller. This is a roller. This is like a factory roller style. It also goes in here. It fits in there, okay? And I can sit there and I can pump it up. Same with link bar. If you have link bar hydraulics, you can still put it in here. One's just gonna lay to the side, okay? Now, some questions that I want to ask or whatever is, okay, let me back up again. Let's say I pump this up and it's good. It pumps all the way up. Now I can actually push down. I can dump the oil. Let's just say we dump the oil. I'm going to dump it in here. Whoa, there's more oil in there than I thought there was. Let's say I dumped it in there, and then now I can push down on this a little bit and get a little bit of preload. Okay, I can go ahead and bleed some off. Let's say 20,000s. We're just guessing a little bit. You kind of feel it. Say, okay, good. At least I know I have a little bit, so when I adjust them or whatever. Okay, now, some people say never pump them up because you'll bend a valve or you will bend a push rod. Okay, that bothers me because I don't see how, if this is pumped up solid, how it bends the push rod or the valve. Usually if a push rod or a valve bends, it's either because it's up against something like a piston or maybe a guide galled real tight, and maybe so the push rod bent. But if you're ready to assemble your engine and you've done all your clearancing and everything, I'm sure you have enough valve clearance to where if this was solid, that it would not hit. The only problem would be, how many times have you heard people say, oh, I got my valves too tight, so I don't have no compression in that hole because I set the valve too tight. Okay, what's the difference? If you set the valve too tight, how come you didn't bend the valve then? Okay, or bend the push rod if you were just barely, because let's say this is a mechanical lifter, okay, mechanical, and you went to 0 lash, you should be able to check your valve clearance and everything, right? I mean, think about it. Okay, you're not bending nothing. Then when you go to when you're going to put your build together, now it says this is 16 thousandths mechanical or 22 thousandths, and you're setting it. So many times over the years, people say, no, don't pump them up. You're gonna bend your push rods. I don't see how I'm gonna bend the push rod or even the valve, because again, this is only gonna pump up to the lock, okay? And you should have, what's the average? 80 to 100, on the exhaust and intake for valve clearance, okay? So having this all the way up, you should have no problem, because when you put preload, you're only gonna preload a half turn, which may only be 20, 25 thousandths, depending, okay? And if it was a mechanical, some mechanical cams now are down like 12 thousandths, 12, 14, 16, okay, thousandths. That's it. I mean, you're almost to 0. So if you went to 0, you're gonna bend something? No. you're just gonna lose a little compression because you're coming off the seat a little bit. Okay, I don't see it yet. I mean, you can answer any way you want with the comments what you thought about that, but I just don't see it. Plus, me and my friend Steve, a few months back, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, we were on this subject, okay, this thing, because we were putting a hydraulic cam in a build he was doing, a small block Chevy. And even when you pump these up, by the time you rotate the motor to start setting valves, they were bleeding off. Someone was already bleeding off. So it's just not going to happen unless you just don't have no clearance, period, unless you didn't check that. So anyway, going back to my whole deal again is I pump up every hydraulic lifter. I've been using this tool since, like, say, I think it was 95 when we did this, when we put this tool together, built it. And I pump them up solid, and then I can bleed a little off if I want to. Half time I don't even do that though. I leave them solid, believe it or not. And then but you can bleed it off. Same with rollers, link bar or factory style. I pump them up, okay? And why it says not to, I couldn't answer that, because it says not to pump them up, but it doesn't tell you why. And I pump them up anyway. I pump from this date till now, I've pumped them all up, even the ones that say do not pump up, because I have not figured out why can't I. I mean, they've all worked. I do it on every one of them, and I have no issues with pumping up lifters. So what the deal is, I don't know. Same with, a lot of people say never put them in here. You don't do that. It doesn't do anything. Or you'll hydro, okay? You'll hydro lock it, or you'll do something. But we've been doing it for decades and decades. People have been doing it like this, and even I have before I was thinking about pumping lifters up. So we were doing this trick. So I just wanted to show this because I read where people have posted and stuff about, hey, do I need to soak my lifters, or do I need to pump them up? And then the comments go real big, okay? And I have brought this up before in the comments, and people say it was the worst thing you could ever do. But it's funny, the worst thing I can ever do for 3 decades, let's say, using this, 3.5 decades, but never had an issue. So anyway, I've actually already showed this a couple times on my old YouTube, and I actually showed pumping them. I did a whole set and actually used the oil in it and did the actual pumping and showed how it got tight, and that was pretty cool. It's a cool video, but I just didn't want to go through all that. Actually, I don't even have a full set of hydraulic lifters in here. So anyway, that's my deal there. And so we can just pump those lifters right away. And again, I don't know why people were against this now when they were doing it for decades. I mean, I know they may have over the years changed the inside of the lift a little bit. Maybe they used different things in there that they didn't have back then, or they found a better way of doing them. But I just don't see it, okay? And then, like I say, as far as bending stuff, I don't see that either, because you should already have clearances, okay? You should be able to put a lifter in solid, okay, and nothing should touch. That's like saying I have a 500-inch lift, but if I go 520, I'm gonna bend everything. Well, you should have more than 20 thousandths clearance if you have a 500-inch lift cam, okay? I'm just trying to say, I was trying to just throw something out, trying to see if you can visualize that. You should have clearance, even though you're checking it on overlap and stuff like that. You see where I'm coming from. You have clearance, because on overlap, both valves are open at the same time. So you know you gotta have clearance there, right? So if you got that much clearance to handle that, then you have enough clearance for this to be solid, if you didn't want to bleed off that little extra 20 or whatever. So anyway, that's my deal for today. So anyway, I don't know what else to talk about. So I'm kind of mad at myself because I wasn't thinking about that oil, and I use this tray every day to feed my animals. So now I'm gonna have to wash it really good. I don't think the food's gonna mix with that oil too well. All right. All right, guys. That was that. If you like this stuff, hit the like button. And like I said yesterday, I don't know exactly how the notifications work, but you can subscribe if you want to subscribe if you like it. Maybe you'll get notifications. I did the landscaping again today. That's video number 2 now with the landscaping. We'll see how that goes. I still feel like I got something weird going on. But anyway, so again, that's that. And until the next video, you guys be safe out there. Talk to you later. Thanks.